This segment is about castling. Castling is the only time during a game when you can move two pieces in the same turn. It's also the only time your king can move more than one square. The king will move two squares toward a rook, like toward this one. And then the rook will go to the square that the king hopped over. So let's look at that again. Notice that the king and rook do not switch places. Neither the king nor the rook will be on the two squares we see them on here. Neither one. Instead, they'll be on these two squares, between them. That's castling on the king side of the board. You could castle queen side as well. The king moves two squares towards the rook as before. Move the king first. The rook will go to the square right between the two squares that the king was on. The square he left, the square he goes to. The rook will be right beside the king. The rook will be on its own color, white rook on a white square. Before castling, the king will not be on his own color. After castling, the king also will not be on his own color, because when the king castles, he does not change the color of the square he's on. Notice that queenside castling looks a little different. We have two squares over here, but when we castle kingside, we have only one. So it does look a little bit different. Now, same for black. His king will not be on its own color before and after castling, whether he castles kingside or queenside. There he goes, queenside. Okay, often when castling queenside, your rook has an open file. Now, when can you castle? You cannot castle while you are in check. So if black just somehow, I'm going to change the position to do this, but let's suppose black played this move and put white in check. White cannot check right now on this move. If he moves his king, he will never be able to castle during this game because he's moved his king, not because he was in check. So, if he got out of check any other way, in this case he blocked it, now he may still be able to castle later. You cannot castle through check. This rook now guards this square, among others. So my king cannot cross that to castle. This would be illegal. Also, if this bishop were, say, guarding this square, now white, if it were his move, cannot castle this way. Not allowed. Without the bishop there, I could castle. And of course, you cannot castle into check. So, if castling would put you in check, you certainly cannot do that. So here, white could castle on the queen side if it were his move. Let's see, is it his move? He's not in check. Oh, okay, this is because of changing the position. All right, well, this king cannot go here because he would be in check from the knight, but he could castle on the queen side. You can only castle once during a game. Castling is considered a move of the king. Castling must be the first move of the king and of the rook it castles with. So if I move the king, even if I put the king back on the square it started, I can't castle for the rest of the game. If I move my rook, then I cannot castle with that rook. So this is a good reason to leave the rooks alone until you get all of your knights and bishops off the back row. Probably your queen as well. This is castling then.